Summer is almost fully over and the leaves are slowly changing their colors. In this episode of Darker Thoughts, we will be examining the Hades and Persephone myth, or the origin story of autumn. Sorry, people, but this is not about rape culture. I just want to make this disclaimer right now before somebody tags this and starts screaming about it. It's actually an older cultural myth. If anything, I think Persephone in some cases outfoxed Hades, and few stories that there is about them. But anywho, I digress. And outside of mythology, we will be looking at selected facts about autumn. So let us begin to dive into the autumn season. Autumn facts. Fact 1. The trees prepare for winter. The leaves will change color and later fall off the tree. This is due to the tree deciding that there's not enough light for it to photosynthesize properly. The same chemicals that are found in carrots that give the carrots their color are actually found in the leaves at this time as chlorophyll breaks down. And that's why they change color. But anywho, fact 2. People born in autumn live longer on average. A study published in 2011 by the Journal of Aging Research shows that people born between October the 1st and November the 30th live on average to be 100 years old. This was determined by viewing data from 1880 to 2000, namely birth and death records. Fact 3. The term fall, as most people call autumn, was coined in England during the 17th century. It comes from the phrase fall of the leaves. The word autumn is a French term that entered the English language in the late 18th century. Fact 4. Autumn is the most common time after spring for weddings and engagements, same as the most common birthdays are in autumn. Fact 5. An article in the September 2008 issue of Persephone magazine found that men were attracted to women more so during cooler months than summer. This is due to the contrast effect. Men see more of women's bodies during summer than during cooler months, therefore due to the layering of clothing, it takes more to catch their attention. However, I question the validity of this study. Fact 6. The Greeks gave autumn an origin story, which we shall be examining: the abduction of Persephone by Hades. To understand the fullness of this myth, we need to examine the players involved: Hades, Zeus, Demeter, and Persephone. Let's start with Hades and try to understand, perhaps, him to a degree. Hades is the most unknown of the three sons of Cronus, and the three sons of Cronus being Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. He is actually the better of the three brothers. He rules over the dead, wealth, and endings. He also has the power of invisibility from a helmet of darkness given to him by the Cyclopses during the Titanomachy, or the War of the Gods. When he was seen, he is said to be carrying keys, representing there is no leaving his kingdom unless he says so. His physical appearance was grim and stern. His residence was a dismal realm wrapped in eternal gloom and mist. He was unable to persuade any of the goddesses to marry him, despite his wealth. He is not associated with sex, and it is said that this frustration drove him to abduct Persephone. Hades' court has various chthonic deities there. There are the three Furies, Tisiphone, Alecto, and Megara. They were described as wearing blood-soaked cloaks and would carry out various plagues on people namely for breaking oaths as well as murder and other sins. There was also Hecate, goddess of magic, ghosts, and the crossroads. And as for Zeus, we all know about him. He's the king of the gods, married to Hera, has various children, and quite frankly can't keep it in his pants, and is always said to be cheating on Hera. But getting back to Hades, he was rarely mentioned in the classical mythology. He is quite prominent, though, in the Orpheus story. And this is a story that I personally like and will be covering at a later time. Orpheus's music said to make him openly weep. That, along with Persephone, asking him, in some cases, outright threatening not to have bedroom fun with him, persuaded him to give Eurydice, Orpheus's wife, back to him, and that he was allowed to take his wife back to the land of the living. Black animals, namely bulls, are sacred to him. Cypress trees, narcissus flowers, and maidenhair ferns were plants that were sacred to him. He had very few temples, and most prayers made to him were during funeral rites or by men seeking wealth. Demeter is a popular goddess on Olympus. However, she typically lives with mortals. She is known as the goddess of fertility, harvest, and agriculture. She has a daughter by Zeus named Persephone. And Persephone herself was a minor goddess until she married Hades. She was the goddess of vegetation. And through her marriage to Hades, she was said to be the mother of angels and demons, as well as ruler of heaven and hell via Hades. But anywho, back to Demeter. She was described as the original Mama Bear. She doted on Persephone and perhaps tried to live vicariously through her. She was brought up in Sicily and was occupied by a troop of female nymphs. This is Persephone we're now talking about. It was said that Demeter had a group of dragons guarding Persephone when she wasn't around. However, the girl, being smart and intelligent, would always give them the slip and go hang out with her nymph friends, namely Saturday and Sunday. The abduction. Hades became attracted to Persephone's sweet, chaste nature. Zeus tacitly gave approval to Hades marrying Persephone, though there are some versions of the story where Aphrodite was said to have made Hades fall in love with Persephone after rejecting his romantic overtures. But that's up for debate by various people who wrote about this stuff. Anyway, he abducted Persephone while she was gathering flowers on Mount Etna. Demeter searched for Persephone without success, and she wandered half mad looking for her daughter while refusing to do any of her duties. Famine gripped the land. Demeter sat upon a rock at Attica, or as we know it now as Eleusis, and wept for 9 days. She was rescued by King Celeos. We will cover this more so in the Eleusinian mysteries. There are multiple accounts of Demeter's search for Persephone's fate and her discovery of it. According to the Theogony by Hesiod, Hecate told Demeter about Zeus and Hades' agreement regarding Persephone after discovering Persephone in the underworld with Hades. However, the version that I personally enjoy is a brief version written by Apollodorus, which I will read to you. The following passage is from Apollodorus. Pluto, alternate name for Hades, fell in love with Persephone, and with the help of Zeus, he secretly abducted her. But Demeter, bearing torches, wandered all night and all day over the earth in search of her. When she learned from the people of Hermion that Pluto had carried her off, she abandoned heaven in her anger at the gods, and came to Eleusis in the likeness of an old woman. First she sat down on the rock, which is called the Laughterless Rock, because of her. Then made her way to Celios, who was king of the Eleusinians at the time. There were some women in the house, and when they invited her to sit down amongst them, an old woman named Iambe joked with the goddess and made her smile. And that, they say, is the reason why the women make jokes at the Thesmophoria. Mataneria, the wife of Celios, had a young child, and Demeter took it over to nurse. Wanting to make it immortal, she would lay the baby in the fire at night, stripping it of its mortal flesh. But because Demophon, for that was the child's name, was growing at such an extraordinary rate each day, Praxithea kept watch over him. When she found him buried in the fire, she screamed aloud. As a result, the baby was consumed by the fire, and the goddess revealed her identity. For Triptolemos, the eldest of Mataneria's children, Demeter fashioned a chariot, drawn by 6 winged dragons, and gave him wheat, which he sowed over the whole inhabited earth, as he was carried throughout the sky. Panaceus says that Triptolemus was the son of Eleusis, for according to him, that was whom Demeter had visited. Pherecydes, for his part, says that he was the son of Oceanus and Gay. Zeus ordered Pluto to send Corre back to Earth. Pluto, to prevent her from remaining too long with her mother, gave her a pomegranate seed to eat, and failing to foresee what the consequence would be, she ate it. When Ascalaphus, son of Acron and Gorgera, bore witness against her, Demeter placed a heavy rock over him in Hades. But Persephone was forced to stay with Pluto for a third year, and the rest she spent with the gods. Such is the story of Demeter. Now, the compromise was reached where Persephone would be with Hades for several months, and then with her mother for several more, before having to return to the underworld. When Persephone returns, nature blossoms and is fruitful. When she leaves and to return to Hades, the earth becomes cold and barren. But that is the origin story of the season we know as autumn. That being said, we should also touch briefly on the science. Science tells us that the tilt of the earth and the orbit around the sun determines the seasons. That is our introduction to autumn. A future episode that I will be making will be launching a new series eventually called Tyrants, where I will be talking about various tyrants from history, some modern, some ancient. And the first episode of Tyrants will be Justin Trudeau, made in Canada dictator. So please look for this in the near future. And have yourselves a pleasant day, or if it is night where you are, then have yourself a pleasant evening. Until next time, we shall see you then.